Alright guys, so this is the weekly recap for the 4th of May 2026, and this week's been interesting. We were stuck in between two higher time frame points of interest where basically I could see two potential biases on. So I took one trade which eventually hit break even, and then I switched my bias and then caught two winners after that. So I'm going to talk you through what happened, of course talk through my analysis, my entry and all that kind of stuff, and if there's any questions of course let me know in the comments below. And yeah, we'll get onto the charts. All right, so here we are on DXY, and we've not started the week yet. So you can see from the bottom, this is Monday the 27th of April, and Monday the 4th is not open. But my bias going into this week was basically from this weekly fair value gap. This weekly fair value gap has since been holding, right? We've had 1 week, 2 week, and 3 weeks that this weekly fair value gap has not been disrespected, okay? So I was kind of skeptical of this because the weekly is clearly bullish, as you can see, and it just seems to be, holding so far. So overall, I actually wanted DXY to go higher, and that's why I kind of, took the trade that I did. So that was the first instance, okay? But then if we go into the daily, we can also see we've got this bearish daily fair value gap just here, right? So these are the two high time frame points of interest that I'm talking about. We've got this weekly bullish and we've got this bearish daily, right? So basically, because the weekly is higher in terms of time frame, and also it's a higher, point of interest, and also I was a bit skeptical of this weekly fair value gap and why it's holding for the past 3 weeks. I was honestly looking for buy opportunities more than anything, so that's why I kind of took the trade I did. So if we see Monday open up, you'll see here that this was Friday, so let's just go to Monday and we'll let this play out. So when I saw this move on Monday, that's when I got into the actual trade. So this was a 4-hour fair value gap. It was being respected on DXY, and you can see here that obviously, we had clear displacement. We've gone the 2-hour, we've also got displacement there, and also the 1 hour, we had, lots of 1 hour displacement as well. So for me, when I saw this is when I entered the trade. And you can see things are going well, right? So this is the first trade, okay? So I had high of the week in, which basically corresponds to me thinking that this is going to be low of the week on DXY, right? So this is me thinking low of the week on DXY, and then high of the week here on EURUSD. So basically, in a nutshell, this was my trade idea. Now, I did move my stops to break even, okay? So my stops are break even at this point. And the reason for that is because we have this war going on and we are stuck in two high time frame points of interest. We could easily get, which actually did happen, a reaction from here taking out low of the week, okay? So it was just an extra layer of protection that I used this week simply because of number one, the war and Trump saying some crazy thing online. But number two, I could also see a potential sell-off opportunity, right? Because again, yes, we're inside a weekly bullish fair value gap, but also we've got this daily bearish, right? So this is the trade. And you can see here, if I go onto the, 1 hour on EU, and you can see here overnight, I think it was Tuesday early hours, I believe, or the following day, but the US said that basically their offensive operations are now ended, right? And what happened when that news came out, you can see clearly that it displaced in the opposite direction, okay? And this is where I got stopped out break even just here, okay? So this trade is now off the cards. However, because of what I said with DXY, we could have a potential opportunity where actually we come away from this daily fair value gap and this starts to respect, okay? So the daily fair value gap is what I'm looking at now, obviously combined with that news as well. And when I say news, I am a technical trader, but it's something you can't ignore because we are going through a war. And you can see we've got a huge daily opening gap, right? So as soon as the new daily candle printed for Wednesday, bang, we opened quite aggressively, leaving this bearish gap, okay? So when I kind of saw this, as well as the news, as well as the daily fair value gap, I basically just switched my bias. So when I saw this here, I obviously got in late. Obviously, this is overnight anyway, so I'm asleep. But Wednesday morning, let's go on to let's play this forward a little bit more. Here we are. So this move here, no, it wasn't. Hang on. Bear with me. Let's play this forward. So I actually think my stop loss was a bit tighter. It was about 1.7 R trade, if I remember correctly. So yeah, so my entry was a bit higher, something like that, and stops probably something like that. So I got in the morning of the trade, something like that. So when I'm basically in my charts, I check it in the morning, and I think about 7 a.m, something like this, and then stop loss. It's like a 1.7, something like that. Okay. So that was basically the trade, and that's what I caught. So you can see that on the screen now. I was on 2 separate accounts, and basically it was a very small trade. And in all honesty, I don't really kind of like going for these small trades, but it was something I was able to see clearly based off, the high of the week get taken out in DXY, but also, more importantly, from this daily fair value gap here, and shifting downwards. So that was basically it. 2 biases are on. We had this weekly, which I took originally, stopped out break even, because the daily fair value gap is there as well, the bearish one. We could have an opportunity where we do get a sell-off. And basically I was holding until this liquidity here was taken, which you can clearly see it is. And as soon as that was taken, I came out of the trade for that. So that was it. In a nutshell, that's the only trades that I've took. So 3 in total, 1 break even, 2 winners. Again, I'm using different risk management in terms of, trade management, just because of what's happening with the war. But essentially, that's what I came out with. Again, 2 biases are on, and just play this forward. You can see that, we are currently here now on Friday's close for the 8th of May. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm hoping now that this weekly fair value gap has cleared up, let's clear my charts. So we have got a close beyond the daily fair value gap here. So you can see that this is the weekly fair value gap just here, and we have got a body closure beyond it. So that's a good sign. Still got a low probability order block here potentially. So you never know, that could hold it up. And I'm just going Capcom here. Sorry, Capitalcom. We do have a closure beyond the weekly fair value gap here as well. So next week or this month, we could also see, price coming down on DXY. If I just go to the monthly here, the monthly is bearish so far as well. Same on this feed as well. So in terms of targets, if it does come down lower and the war does end, I'd expect DXY to sell off to go for this. If something happens with the war and it kicks off again, then I'd expect it to obviously go for this liquidity here. Or if we go into the weekly, we've got this liquidity, well, that's not been taken yet either. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Pretty kind of, I would say kind of a, it's not a bad thing, boring week. I will say that before, it's really important that you not get married to a bias. You can clearly see that, on EURUSD, that with these trades I took, I wasn't married to a position, right? So this was my first one here, just here, something like that. And basically I wasn't married to the idea, right? I'm seeing charts of what it's given to me. Now, when I first started trading, I would be so fixated on one bias that I would miss what the charts are actually telling me, right? I'd be completely, married to that bias. And it's almost like an ego thing. It's almost like a stubborn thing. And what I've come to realize is that you really got to kind of take a step back, see what the market's actually, telling you, and trade what you see, not what you want to see, okay? So overall, I'm happy. It's a good week. But it's I will say this is probably, it's probably been challenging, I would say, definitely, because the ranges are small on the weekly, weekly kind of candle, the range, but also, you know, with what happening with, you know, the war, people saying one thing and the other country saying the other, the US and Iran, you know, it can be a bit of a difficult one to navigate. So that's why I'm using different trade management in terms of going to break evens and stuff. And yeah, I can't complain, especially with a week like this, right? Had high of the week in, completely reversed. Then we had low of the week in and we took out. And even if we look at this range, guys, the candle's tiny. This is the bottom of the weekly candle, right? So here, the low of the week. If I just measure this to the highest point, 120 pips. That's very, very small, right? And that's probably why I only caught a very small trade, right? As a swing trader, you know, I do catch intraday trades as well, but that's a very small range. If going to DXY, it's not any better really. High of the week, so this was high of the week here, and then this was low of the week. And again, that's not massive, right? 947 is a bit different on DXY anyway, but again, that's not a massive weekly candle, right? It's not big. What we want, like, it's a very small weekly candle, right? This is a decent candle here. That's a very small candle, decent candle here. And as you can see as well, since kind of basically from about probably here, the 26th of May. So for a whole year, we've been trading this on the weekly. And of course, you know, it's been good to us because we have a certain strategy that we trade, but you know, I want to start seeing this, right? I want to start seeing this stuff. I want to start seeing this. I've only started trading since I was, you know, September 2025. So in here, I started trading, right? This price action here. Things have been going well, but I can't wait till this stuff comes back. Look at this on DXY. Absolutely huge ranges, right? Huge weekly candles, big ranges, nice trending markets. And look at that. This isn't great. I mean, this was good. This has not been bad. And at least it's starting to move a bit better. But yeah, it's not been... This price action here has obviously clearly not been as good as this and this and this. So yeah, that's enough for this video, guys. Hopefully it makes sense. If there's any questions, please do let me know. And I'll give you another weekly recap as another weekly price action plays out. I'll see you all soon.